Good afternoon and welcome to the City Council meeting for the City of International Falls for Monday, September the 19th, 2016. I would ask all to please arise and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ask the City Administrator to note the roll call with all members of the Council present. Move to the agenda, and we have 3 items to add to the agenda with the Council's approval. First is under Finance, and that would be the Airport Commission Terminal Project accounts payable. And under New Business, item number 8 is to authorize city crews to demolish and remove a bathroom structure at Cary Park Playground. Item number 9 is to approve an advertisement in the Journal in the amount of $107 for the cleanup to be held at the high school parking lot on September 24th. Your pleasure with the agenda and the additions.
I'll move.
Motion by Councillor Kaler to approve the agenda with the additions.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Droba. Discussion on the motion or the agenda? Hearing none, the Chair would call the question on the agenda with the additions.
Aye.
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 I'll vote yes. Motion is carried and agenda is approved with the additions. Thank you. Move to the approval of the minutes of the September 6, 2016 regular City Council meeting.
Move on the minutes.
Motion by Councillor Briggs to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second by Councillor Jacksaw. Discussion on the motion or the minutes? Hearing none. Question on the approval of the minutes?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion is carried and minutes are approved. Thank you. Move to the payment of claims and transfers. First of all, transfers are to Fund number 101 from number 601, Water and Sewer Fund, $17,715, and to Fund number 401, Permanent Improvement from the Water and Sewer Fund, $16,668, and to Fund number 403, Reserve for Capital Outlay from the Water and Sewer Fund 601, $17,428. City of International Falls claims of $353,246.45. Airport Commission project claims of $444,056.19, and Library Board claims of $5,893.25. Your pleasure with the transfers and the accounts payable.
I'll move on the transfers and the accounts payable.
Motion by Councillor Droba to adopt the resolution approving the transfers and the payment of the accounts payable.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Kaler. Discussion on the motion or the transfers or the accounts payable claims.
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I'm concerned about the funding of the airport project. How deep are we going to go into city cash? Do we have something worked out there? It's a $10 million now project?
Yeah, the project overall is $10 million. The state is holding approval. They have the $7,800,000. The only monies that are not approved yet for spending are the $2.2 million from the state bonding. So right now, the $7.8 million is available for expenditure. The airport executive secretary has forwarded the terminal project claims. She did that prior to them coming to the Airport Commission, just so that the state would have them for review. And the Airport Commission at the meeting at 1 o'clock this afternoon approved the a terminal project claims of $444,056.19. Councilor Briggs and I that represent the City Council on the Airport Commission recommend that this be paid. The engineers have reviewed all of these claims, and all of this work has been completed.
I guess my question is, and I voted for the local match on that, and I support the airport terminal remodel. My concern is not the project. My concern is how deep will go into our cash. So this cash is forthcoming then. Since it's been approved by the Airport Commission, you expect that this check will be written within 30 days?
My belief is that we will probably have the check from the state of Minnesota, including the federal funds, in about 14 days.
14 days, so that would be about $444,000.
Yes.
Okay, so just for future understanding, so we don't have to repeat this discussion, you're anticipating that as the bills come in, they'll be approved within the month, and then that receivable will be turned over within 30 days. So we won't be building up a loan to the city of any significant amount that's into the millions, let's say. Okay.
That's the game plan, is we're trying to stay right on top of it and get everything submitted right away so that we get reimbursed as soon as possible.
Further questions or discussions with regard to the transfers or the accounts payable of the city, the airport, or the library? Hearing none, then the chair would call the question on approval of the resolution. Question.
Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted, and it approves the transfers and the payment of claims and accounts payable. Thank you. Then move to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience that is not on the agenda that wishes to approach the council at this time? Not seeing anyone. We do have another opportunity at the end of the meeting if anyone would want to speak to the council on any matter. Thank you. We'll then move to the agenda item of bids, and we have approve the purchase of a 2017 Elgin Broom Bear Street Sweeper from McQueen Equipment Incorporated in the amount of $258,564 per the Minnesota State bid price, and furthermore declaring the 2006 Elgin Broom Bear Street Sweeper as surplus property to be included as a trade-in. This would come, the funds would come from account 402-42210-5800, reserved for capital outlay streets.
I'll make a motion to approve that purchase, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Councilor Jacksaw to approve the purchase of the street sweeper.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Kaler. Discussion on the motion or the street sweeper.
Do we know if the price of the 1,000 is including the 26 or 20,006 street sweeper as the trade-in?
City Administrator?
Beyond, or?
It does, yes.
So the 258 is already the price with including the trade-in.
That's correct.
Further questions or discussion with regard to the motion or the bid? Hearing none, the chair will call the question on the motion to approve.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried, and the bid is accepted at $258,564. Thank you. Move to the consent agenda, and that's to approve travel and training expenses for Justin Mostad and Rory Gilo to attend the demolition landfill operators training in Grand Rapids, Minnesota on October 19th and 20th to be licensed for operation of the city demolition site.
Move.
Motion by Councilor Briggs to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Jacksaw. Question.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. Consent agenda is approved. Thank you. And move to new business, and item number 1 is a restaurant license application for International Falls 2nd Avenue 6662 LLC, Tim Hortons Restaurant at 1632 2nd Avenue West. Mr. Darren Adair, if you would please approach the council at this time. Thank you. Your application is for a restaurant license, and that would take effect when?
As an opening date, sir?
Please.
We're looking to open late fall, early winter.
Okay. So we would have a approval now, and then do we have to, I'm going to the city administrator, if you may, we would then have to have another license for 2017, or is this going to be the 2016-17 license?
Mr. Mayor, the recommended action that we had included in the memo, which I prepared, was to have the effective date for the restaurant license January 1st of 2017, because the information we had received was that it would be opening in late January. If it opens any time in 2016, then we would need approval for whatever the recommended date would be for Tim Hortons to open up, and we can include that and prorate the fee for that part of the year. But our recommended motion was that it be effective January 1st for an opening sometime later in January. If it be before the end of the year, we can make it earlier than that.
We anticipate it could be prior to the end of 2016.
Okay, so say November 1st, is that?
That would be fine, yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I would like to see the names of the officers on the application, if that would be okay.
Sure, I can have those added.
Yeah. I don't know, you're registering, or you said the number just came through, the ID number.
Yes, I emailed those in last week.
Okay, so the registered agent is on file with the state of Minnesota? Yes. Okay.
And I would add that Mr. Adair was good enough about forwarding those via email to both the deputy administrator and myself, and so we have one for the federal government and the state government, so I have those numbers. They weren't included in the application because those are submitted prior to them being received, so they'll be included in the packet of materials, and we'll include the information from both those licenses as part of the application that they've submitted. Also, Mr. Mayor, just to continue, we're really appreciative that Tim Hortons is found it worthy of opening up an establishment in International Falls, and given that Mr. Adair indicated he was going to be at the meeting today, I did make a photocopy of the site plan that was submitted for very preliminarily. There's going to be some minor revisions to the parking layout to meet code requirements for handicapped accessibility, etc. I provided a copy of that for you as well as the media, just to see where the site's going to be and how the building is going to be configured on the site. It'll be about 2,300 square foot building, and open before the end of the year, so that's moving right along once they get the license approval. Other information you'd like to pass on and share to the council, that'd be great.
Well, the Tim Hortons restaurant, this will be your typical Tim Hortons restaurant that I believe many of you have seen. Will be the full service drive-through restaurant, full menu, and very excited about bringing this brand to International Falls. So
it will both be an in-store or
in-store and drive-through.
And drive-through.
Yes.
Very good.
Yep.
Okay. Very exciting. Great to have you here, and welcome to International Falls.
I'm glad we've got the opportunity to do this. It's something that I've thought of for a few years and knew that we wanted to be here. So as I said earlier, as soon as I had the opportunity, I said this is a market and a community we wanted to be a part of.
We'll be sure to show up at your grand opening here.
Excellent. I look forward to it. I might even buy the first round. So.
May I ask what your criteria to pick International Falls to open up the restaurant was? Because this is what we're trying to do is be an inviting community to new businesses. So I would be interested in what your thought process was to choose International Falls from what you said earlier, the entire state of Minnesota.
Right. I've had knowledge of International Falls for a while. I've been with the brand of Tim Hortons for 15 years now, and was responsible for opening the restaurant across the river. So I've know this market. I've been to this market a few times with my family on vacation. It just seems to have what we look for. There's great traffic coming through close to the border. There's a real sense of community here that we like to be a part of, and it seems to really fit with our brand. So it was, for me, it was on the top of the list when we first started talking about this as our group.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent, thank you. Motion then to approve the restaurant license for 2016, and can we do one for 2017 then, City Administrator? So we do them both at the same time and assures they're having the restaurant license. Motion would be in order.
So move.
Motion by Councillor Briggs to approve the restaurant licenses.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Kaler. Further questions or discussion?
I don't know how it could be closer to my house than it already is going to be.
Sounds good. No further questions or discussion. Chair would call the question on approval of the restaurant licenses.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. Restaurant license is approved. Thank you again for being here, and we look forward to being with you.
Definitely.
Item number 2 is information only, and that's the St. Thomas Marathon route to be held on October the 1st, 2016. And well, you have the information. Councillor Droba, please.
Last year when we did it, I spoke with Chief Musich. I neglected to get a hold of you this year. I was contacted by St. Thomas about their marathon. They will not be closing down any streets. In fact, they're going to be using public sidewalks. So this is more a council action or council information that at 10 o'clock on October 1st, they're going to be going down 5th Street, down 5th Street, and then hitting 53, going down to 11th Street, and then finishing up at Cary Park for a little picnic for a fundraiser that they're doing. But like I said, this is just council information. I don't believe we need any official motion. Let the police department know that they will be out there that morning.
Good. Thank you, Councillor Droba. Item number 3 under new business is to approve a memorandum of understanding between the Rainy River Community College and the City of International Falls Police Department to comply with the new legislation. Chief, everything set as far as you're concerned with the department and the community college?
It is, Mr. Mayor. And made some changes with the college and got it all worked out, and we're in agreement with it.
City Administrator?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I did meet with Brad Crassaway. We coordinated with some of the language in the document, and there was a model memorandum of understanding provided by the general counsel. Appears his name is Gary Cunningham from the cover memo, and I included that just for your general information. Apparently the legislature adopted a new statute that required that a memorandum of understanding be established between all of the colleges and universities across the state and the local law enforcement agencies. The other alternative was to have a sexual assault protocol team, but I believe most of them are going forward with a memorandum of understanding, which this one was essentially crafted from the model ordinance with a few minor revisions, and those are acceptable to the college, acceptable to the general counsel, and our city attorney's had an opportunity to review them, and he's in agreement, and as it's been prepared as well. So we'd be asking the council to just approve the memorandum of understanding. I would point out that we made it effective on January 1st, 2017, and it has to be updated every 2 years. We did that so that we've got some time between now and the end of the year to just get all of our exchange of information, but we will be starting essentially as soon as it's adopted by the council and signed by the college. So, but it does have to be reviewed, and we made it effective at the start of the calendar year, so from a contract management standpoint, we can remember to look at it a couple years out and review it if any changes are necessary. We'll be making those in December of 18 and prior to the January 1st, 2019.
Thank you. City Attorney, any comments?
Just to confirm what the chief and Ken have said, I've looked at it, it looks fine, and
Pleasure with the approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Rainy River Community College and the International Falls Police Department.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, may I just interrupt real quickly before our motion's put on the floor?
Yes.
I see that there was some language that came back, and on page 2 at the bottom, 1D.
Page 2 of 5.
Right.
Okay.
In 1D, the bottom paragraph there, you'll see that there's a significant amount of text that starts in italics, and their general counsel, when he reviewed our changes, recommended that that be removed, and for some reason, the wrong copy got photocopied for the packet. So that section in italics would not be included as part of the agreement, and that was at the request of the college's general counsel. So, and it's not material to what we need to do either.
Carries over onto page 3 of 5 also then?
Yes.
Okay, so all of that would be removed from the memorandum of understanding?
Just the italic text.
It isn't pertinent to us at all.
No, it's student information.
Yeah.
College would have had to put together a program, basically, they're just deleting that to give themselves more flexibility, I'm assuming.
Very good. All right, again, council's pleasure with approval of the memorandum of understanding.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion by Councillor Jacksaw to approve the memorandum of understanding.
Second.
Second by Councillor Briggs. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, the chair would call the question to approve the memorandum of understanding.
Aye.
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 Yes, motion is carried and the memorandum of understanding is approved. Thank you. Item number 4 is a resolution approving application for an exempt permit for the Borderland Alano Club to conduct a raffle.
I'll move.
Motion by Councillor Kaler,
Second.
second by Councillor Jacksaw to approve the application. Question on the motion? Permit. Hearing none, the chair would call the question.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried and permit is approved. Thank you. Item number 5 is to approve designating True Star Federal Credit Union as a depository for funds of the City of International Falls. City Administrator.
Mayor, Council, we're just asking that the Council adopt this resolution. I was researching the resolution adopted at the beginning of the year as it was related to the commercial loan program that we just approved at the last meeting for the Cooligs, and we have a loan approved through True Star, and I think just through an omission, we did not include True Star as one of the designated depositories of city money, so we just want to have the council adopt this, which is required to do that by resolution. So more of a housekeeping issue, and we do have a couple of the loan programs now administered through True Star. So
I'll make the motion that we designate depository.
Motion by Councillor Jacksaw to adopt the resolution designating True Star Federal Credit Union as a depository for funds of the city.
Second.
Second by Councillor Briggs. Discussion on the resolution or True Star? Hearing none. Question on the resolution?
Aye.
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 I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted and True Star Federal Credit Union is now a depository for funds of the city. Thank you. Item number 6 is to approve the appointment of Kyle Rasmussen as spare firefighter engineer effective September 1st, 2016. Chief Manassa.
To the Mayor and Council, I am requesting that you approve placement of firefighter Kyle Rasmussen to the position of spare firefighter engineer. With that request, I also Am requesting that he start at the same rate as the current casual paramedics, which is $22.64 an hour. That's also the bottom wage of a full-time engineer or full-time paramedic. Kyle has gone through some training. He has been checked off, so to speak. He is competent of the job and capable, being that we are shorthanded for full-time spare engineers. Sorry, not full-time, for spare firefighter engineers. I would recommend him for that position.
Okay, council's pleasure with the appointment of Kyle Rasmussen by Chief Manassa as a spare firefighter engineer.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Briggs to approve.
Second.
Second by Councilor Kaler. Questions for the chief or discussion with regard to the motion or the appointment? Hearing none, question.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote yes, motion is carried and appointment is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll take item 7, which is to approve then the resolution for Public Employees Retirement Association declaration for Kyle Rasmussen's membership.
I'll move.
Motion by Councilor Kaler.
Second.
Second by Councilor Jacksaw to adopt the resolution. Discussion? Question?
Aye.
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 And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried, and the resolution is adopted, approving PERA for spare firefighter Kyle Rasmussen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8 under new business is to authorize city crews to demolish and remove the bathroom structure retaining the pavilion at the Cary Park Playground. Motion by Councilor Droba.
Second.
Second by Councilor Jacksaw. Discussion on the motion or the demolition?
Please. Just for public knowledge, the reason that this is up on the floor to be demolished is the bathrooms have not been usable for years. I don't know how many years it's been. And it is a focal point for graffiti over at Cary Park. So last year when the St. Thomas Marathon specifically was over there, there was a ton of graffiti. The city administrator authorized the Public Works to go and clean it up, and within 24 hours it was almost as if it was right back there again. Since the bathrooms can't be fixed without having them broken or beat up and misused again, we do have porta potties that are chained to the fence at the Cary Park. So there is still going to be restrooms available, but with that being said, we don't need a structure that'll just be another catch-all for graffiti. So that's the background information on why we're getting rid of the bathrooms.
And it carries the recommendation of the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee to have that structure removed but retain the pavilion.
And this sort of carries, we've all received the email about the skate park and the graffiti, and maybe that's going to have to be our answer. If we paint it, they keep painting it, we'll take it away. If they don't want to take ownership, maybe until I don't want to, because there's good kids and those kids need something for an activity too, but maybe if that keeps up, we might have to start taking some of it away for as maybe a preventive measure, because that goes on all the time too.
I just want to comment to what Councilor Kaler just said. That the graffiti over at the skate park came up at the Public Works meeting as well. And I guess what we're going to do at this point is cover it up with primer or another paint. And I think the goal is to work with the police department and try to have some intervention with the kids and try to have them have a sense of pride in their park, because that's who's using it. I mean, if it goes back to trying to take pride in our community, and I'm more than willing to work with the officers, with the kids over there, to try to get them to take pride in their area, because they're the ones that are utilizing it, and there are really good kids that are using it during daylight hours. And it seems like it has got to be a catch-all at night or after dark. And with that being said, if we could get those kids to take pride and to police up their own park with, because I'm sure those kids have to know who's doing it at night or at least have an idea. So I think that's going to be the goal moving forward, to try to keep that skate park and keep it cleaned up.
I would agree with that, and I knew measures like that would be taking place first, but eventually, you know, what do you do if they're not gonna, and hopefully you're right, the ones that use it can police themselves, because the police do what they can, you know, there's only so many, there's lighting issues, but
That's
yes,
what
if we
I
can
was
get
gonna
them
ask
to
about lighting issues. Didn't we talk about changing the lights around there?
We're talking about adding additional lighting.
Adding additional lighting, okay.
But that would have been farther over by the hockey rinks and by the
Tennis courts and that.
the grades over there.
Okay, and that's not going to happen until next year, because that's... Really, we have no increased lighting or anything we can do at the moment. Okay.
Further discussion? Question on the motion then to authorize demolition?
Aye.
Aye.
Sadly, I.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion is carried and authorization is approved. Thank you. Item number 9 is to approve an advertisement in the Journal in the amount of $107 for the citywide West Ward neighborhood cleanup to be held at the Falls High parking lot on September 24. Councillor Jackson.
Yes. The last cleanup we're doing is going to be citywide because we can increase our volumes comfortably. And we've been distributing flyers door to door for each ward, but for this, and we're distributing flyers for the West Ward, but to reach the rest of the city, we need to have an ad-in. And we'll be having it in community calendar, borderland briefs, and on the radio too. So we're asking for $107. This won't be formatted quite this way, but the essential information is there. In addition, we'll provide flyers at the counter at City Hall so people can pick up information. The other thing I'd like to bring out is that we do need the white goods trailer from the city on that Saturday. That white goods trailer at the high school parking lot. And I guess that would be it.
Chair would accept a motion to...
I'll make a motion, thank you.
Motion by Councillor Jackson to approve the advertisement in the Journal. Second to the motion.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Kaler. Discussion on the motion or the advertisement?
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
is this to be in the 24th's paper?
It'll be on Wednesday's paper.
Wednesday's paper, okay.
Yeah.
That clears up my question.
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
Councillor Jackson, you had said it would be on the radio as well. Is there going to be a fee associated
No,
with
we're
that?
doing a Let's Talk on Wednesday morning, so we didn't do any ads for the radio.
I just wanted to make sure if you were, that the council authorized that as well.
Yeah.
Sounds like good.
Further discussion?
Well, and we'll have flyers put up around town too, so we're pitting up flyers.
Very good. Good work. Further discussion? Question?
Aye.
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 I'll vote yes. Motion is carried. And approval for the advertisement is approved. Thank you. Any other business under new business?
Yes, aye.
Chief Manassa?
First and foremost, I do apologize to the council and the administrator for not having this in writing or addition to the agenda. I've been working on through the CAT contract. As you know, we get reimbursement money. We have a contract for $60,000 a year to purchase equipment and goods for the CAT team. We get direct reimbursed from the state on that contract. The contract comes to an end September 30th of this month, this year, for the first year. So we have to have all our reimbursements in through the end of October, through the end of September in October. We recently purchased SCBAs and bottles for the CAT team. We thought that was going to get pulled out of our contract. I found out today it's not, so I have $14,000 I didn't spend, anticipating it to be spent on the SCBA's. We took delivery of those last week, midweek, and I haven't received a bill for it. I called on it today to try and get settled up on that, and I was told that there was some money change in the state. The state is paying for those outside of our contract. So I have $14,000 additional dollars to spend. That's the good news. The bad news, and why I'm sitting in front of you, is it needs to be spent. I'm going to be out of town next week, so I have to do it by the end of this week, and I don't have anything on paper to put in front of you to approve for purchases. So I guess I'm asking for maybe a blanket authorization or some form of maybe working through the administrator to get approval to purchase those items this week. They're large dollar items that normally would be a council action. We are guaranteed reimbursement for those, so that's not an issue there. I understand I'm not following proper channels, but the timing was not very good on this, so my apologies for that.
If I understand it correctly, Chief, you'd be looking for approval from the city to expend up to $14,000 for items that would be authorized under the chemical assessment team
Reimbursement,
contract
yeah.
reimbursement.
And it's not exactly, it's a little over. I don't have the exact dollar amount yet, and I haven't had a chance to speak with the administrator. A lot of this rolled out this afternoon, so I don't have the exact numbers, but it is in the ballpark of $14,000.
So do we want to have it more than 14,000 to have it
15,
legally approved?
14,5, 15 would cover everything, I'm sure. Up to, I suppose. And again, I apologize.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. If the council was to be so disposed to approve that, it would probably be best to have a authorization up to a not to exceed fee of $15,000 if it was going to be some number in the $14,000 range, and then it won't exceed whatever the outstanding amount would be.
That would be for authorized items for the chemical assessment team.
Correct.
Would there be any item that would require a bid or anything? No, because you don't have time for that.
No, and most of the things do fall under, if we had to, we'd purchase from vendors that would follow state bid list anyway, so they would be state bid price. Some of the vendors, some of the materials we can't, but for the most part it would be purchased through state bid price.
Well, knowing you, I know you have very good judgment, and I trust you. I know you won't have a party in Las Vegas or something.
No, and I guess to be clear, we're not going to have a challenge spending the money. Most of the items we're looking at are, just an example, we do need some new level A suits. They run about $2,500 a piece. I mean, we can spend this up pretty easily on not a large number of items. If it's the council's wish, I can run items through the administrator too before purchase, but again, I'd like to kind of move on this and get it done by this week and wrapped up.
I would like you to run it by the administrator simply because it's nice
Absolutely.
to have a second set of eyes and some help in that area, I would think. So I would can I make a motion?
Yes.
I would make a motion that we grant the chief blanket authorization of up to $15,000 for purchase of supplies that qualify under the CAT contract.
Accept your motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Aye. Councillor Briggs seconded the motion to authorize Chief Manassa to make purchases not to exceed $15,000 for September 30th under the chemical assessment team contract. Discussion. Further questions? Hearing none, question.
Aye.
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 I'll vote yes. Motion is approved and authorization is given.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Please.
If I may ask the chief, do you have any word on, do you have a new contract for approval that we'll get it and can act on at the first meeting in October, or?
We did sign the original contract, ran through the 2017 year, so we are approved for the second phase of the contract, but the money runs on a year-to-year basis.
Okay.
So we're good for another year. This time next year, we would have to renew contract.
So the expenditures don't follow the state year of July 1st. They're September 1st, September 30th, October 1st.
Kind of. I have to do 2 submissions. One submission does run June 30th is when the first submission is for. So 9 months of the contract run on the state year. The other 3 months run on the next state year. And this was, I learned, was from the government shutdown a couple of years ago. It pushed the federal contracts back 3 years. So the CAP money is cycled through the state, but it's federal money that cycles through the state. So an explanation on what happened with the SCBA's is they just now finalized their budget for next year. On their capital outlay items was SCBA's for the CAT team, so he's pushing back the billing by 20 days or whatever to get it on the next year to use their capital outlay money. So that's where the hitch happened here. He did us a favor. But
Yes. Yep. Sounds good. We'll take it. Thank you.
I had an item. Okay.
Councillor Jackson.
I meant to bring this up at the last meeting, and it slipped my mind. Speaking of Riverview Boulevard again, where the speeding has been an issue, I got a complaint, and I've received many in the past. I'm wondering if, because we now have a school partnership regarding using the park there as an environmental lab, if we could impose a speed limit that is compliant with a school area so that we could drop the speed limit. Because now it's part of the school, maybe? I know there was a problem with dropping the speed limit there in the past when I asked, because you can't just do that arbitrarily. And the other issue that I've heard about is the signage for the park has paled. It's difficult to read, and so those signs should be replaced or painted brighter colors. And so I wanted to bring that up. So I'm not a part of the infrastructure committee, but it's a legal, I guess it's a chief of police, or a police question as to where you can change speed limits. Not just something we can do at will as a council.
City Administrator.
Mr. Mayor, just another question. You said the signs were paled or...
They're old, so they've faded.
So are you saying the speed limit signs, or
It's
are
a
there
sign that says caution children at play, because there's a park there.
We can look to try and get that replaced through our Public Works Department.
But I was just wondering if we can take the avenue of dropping the speed, because now at our last council meeting, we agreed to have the relationship with the school district, making that park an environmental lab for the school.
My recollection is we did discuss it at length on more than one occasion, and it was the previous police chief's opinion that, as you pointed out, the city doesn't have control over the speed limits in local streets. It has to be approved. If it's something less than 30 miles an hour, which is what the statewide standard is, it would have to be approved by the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Transportation, I believe. And they wouldn't do that unless there's appropriate study. And so there was some, bureaucratic pushback or difficulty because of that. So it made it difficult for us to be able to change the speed limit at all. I understand that you're suggesting that the conditions are different because Riverview Park is now being used as a school forest land, and we'll occasionally have classes over there, science classes, moving along the river and up along the park and then walking back and forth to the school, that might be justification to reduce the speed.
And, as one resident on that street indicated, that the first half that's closest to the school of that semicircle is really where there's a lot of traffic for children going to the school across the street. So if we can't slow it down for the whole arc, maybe we can do the part by the park and maybe halfway in. And if you do it there, it will at least have some effect on the traffic beyond the midpoint of that arc. But I keep hearing about this. I I know there are no sidewalks there. There are small children there, and they're in the street with their bikes and their trikes. So, and I keep hearing cars are whipping around that arc there, and they can't possibly see. So I'm worried that we're going to have some horrible accident, and
I know the police department had periodically put the trailer out there too to try and warn people that they maybe are exceeding the speed limit, but quite frankly, 30 would be speeding on that road because of the curvature on it and the condition of the road and the cars parked on the side. But so I think there was also a discussion that while it might seem that people are speeding, they're actually not going 30 miles an hour just because of the existing, seemingly faster than that. But we have put the trailer out there on a couple of occasions to try and moderate the speeds, and I know that the police department have talked to, I believe, 2 parties in particular that they were aware of might be speeding, and so they talked to them. Is it saying it's continuing because you received another complaint?
I think that half the people on that street I've heard about speeding from them. So it's pretty. I think it was brought up at council about a month ago again, too, wasn't it?
Not the speed limit, no.
Okay. Streetlights? Maybe it was streetlights.
Streetlights are out on Park Avenue, and they're scheduled to be repaired. We're just waiting for the contractor to come to town to bore underneath the driveways so we don't have to cut the driveways open.
That was a question, too. But anyway, is there a way we could plea our case now that we have that school park there and reopen it with the state? Your appetite with the rest of the council to look at that?
Well, I certainly would agree with you that the students coming from the high school and would be walking on the street itself to the school forest. And so I think there certainly is a good reason to have a slower speed limit, as is the case in front of the high school and grade school. So I think, but I guess I would certainly want to have the input from the police department, and I guess we'd need to understand the process if we need to send a request to the Department of Transportation, if that goes to the district office or to St. Paul. I'm not sure.
Our Public Works Department director might very well know who that should go to, and probably want to have them weigh in in addition to the police chief on that.
Can we put this on the agenda for the October 3rd meeting?
I would appreciate that.
And in the meantime, we can clarify the process, give the police department an opportunity to review the situation there? Thank you. We will have it on the agenda for the October 3rd meeting then. Further under new business? Hearing none, we'll go to reports of boards, committees, and department heads. City Administrator.
Just a reminder, Mr. Mayor, that we have a special council meeting scheduled at 9:30 on the 26th, which would be next Monday, and that would be to review the budget again. I have nothing further.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, the only thing I have to report has to do with the Donahue Committee. We've met several times over the summer, have come to a conclusion. Our last meeting was while at the site, come to a conclusion that only what there currently that's warranted would be to only feasible use is and with the that was talked about and contemplated at the time it was acquired, and parking area. Develop a sign commemorating I think Steve former Public Works Director has provided an outline that I forwarded to Ken. Parking area. Signage, the cost would not exceed $7,000 for the sign. Those items in the budget, the proposed budget for next year, so that we can. That's the highest and best use to use for the property now. Leaves open all future. Once those things are done, not going to be any issue over the glass or something that's. Traveled area, not anything that would be paved. Cars. Doesn't feel the need or intend to meet further unless the council connected to the Palm family. Yeah, at least the Palm house is right there. Yeah. This was the least actual obligations to the Donahue family.
Just maybe to start the questions, City Attorney, the parking area would be come off of the county road that serves the Falls Golf Course?
It would. There's, I think our property that the city has is about 300 feet long. Putting the entry and the parking area about in the center of that. So one, it gives a buffer of trees to the surrounding landowners, both the golf course and the Palm residents wouldn't have a parking lot right on their boundary. And so by putting it in the center, that really provides a buffer for everybody, and it would be more in keeping with the green space concept that we're looking at. Signage that we're looking at is similar to what we have out at the Pat Roach landing, and something with rock and then plaque, a metal plaque that would be attached to it. Warrior Construction has agreed to donate, whatever rock. Would be the location.
So the figure of 7,000 that you spoke of was for the signage, but not the cost of clearing and grubbing and putting in the gravel material?
It doesn't include the cost of the gravel material, and I don't know what that cost is, and I don't know if Ken's had a chance.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the estimate was $5,000 to $7,000 for the clearing, grubbing, removing the topsoil, and I believe also putting in gravel, and I think there was reference to a geotextile fabric or something like that, too, that would be put in. I'm not sure if that'd be over the whole parking lot, but the number was $5,000 to $7,000 for that as well.
So total would be could be up to 14,000 for...
Up to 14, if combining the cost of $7,000 for the sign and the $5,000 to $7,000 for the parking lot and clearing and grubbing.
I'm not sure if, and I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Steve, is that cost of materials over and above that, or does that include and service would be for using the
I believe, my assumption was that that was a material cost and that the work would be done by the city crews, and that cost would not be included. But I have not spoken with him, and I've just seen the site plan, and it was annotated on the site plan, so.
I don't have that part in our budget, or it has, I haven't seen that budget request for the parking lot.
Not for the parking lot, no. We did include $7,000 for the sign because the city attorney had asked me to do that prior to our previous meetings, but we're reviewing budgets now, so.
So I guess in accepting a recommendation from the Donahue Property Committee, we would need to include total of 12 to 14,000 in the 2017 budget. I would give you an opportunity to reflect that in the preliminary budget that the council will have under consideration on the September 26th, 9:30 a.m. meeting.
That's correct, and we have already included 7,000, and we'd have to add an additional 5,000 to 7,000 to do that, and we have significant cuts to make throughout the, from what was preliminary submitted from all the departments, so we can look at.
Please.
What I would envision as a part of this whole process is that we would, one of the conditions of our making those expenditures and doing that is satisfied all of our obligations to them under obligations going forward, and thoughts of the committee is once these expenditures are made, there really aren't any significant forward, say over the next 5 or 10 years that we would envision. So probably once a year in the spring, maybe there'd be a crew required to go through with a brush hog or something, and might be one person, one. And our goal was to have a very low maintenance situation moving forward that's not going to continue cost the city much and not going to require.
Council would consider accepting then the Donahue Property Committee report from the city attorney and requesting that the city administrator would place an additional $5,000 to $7,000 in the 2017 budget.
Do you want a motion now?
Please.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councillor Jacksaw. Second to that motion.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Kaler. And that would be to accept the Donahue Committee's report and then to place an additional $5,000 to $7,000 in the budget for consideration on September 26th for the parking area. Further discussion?
Does it have to be completed in 2017?
That's a question. Good one.
Well, it doesn't, I guess, better so it can start being used, and we, doesn't make any sense to do the memorial unless we have a,
to put it.
we really need to do both, and so it's kind of an all or nothing thing. 2017. Legally, I think the city's obligated to take these steps, and it's been quite some time now since the contract was about not pressuring us or hurrying us, and questions for several years about, what to do if we still had a few payments. Probably about 7 years old at this, 6 or 7. I think it's a tremendous resource that the city has. I, myself, and a number of us that were on the committee actually now, we don't drive there and park, we all live near it, so we access it from different portions of if we're taken, we could promote the use of that area to the at this point, we've paid the $90,000, and we really haven't made use of it. So I think it only makes sense to take this next step, which is relatively minor in the
I agree, and I'm a big proponent of the area too. We got to use it, but we do have money constraint issues. I'm sure we can find it if we look, but we also sent budgets back to everybody to trim. I mean, that's my only concern right now. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity to use, but I'm just not sure where we're gonna. It's like anything. We take some from there. For there, we got to take from somewhere else.
Well, there are. If there's not enough money in this year's budget to do it all, you could parking lot area this first year and then add the signage. It makes no sense to do the memorial unless you have the parking area, but it's certainly, if the parking area were done and the thought was, hey, we're going to budget this in 2 sections and we'll do half of it this year with the idea that we'll do the other half next year, I'm sure the family would be fine with that.
That's why I asked the original question. Does it all have to be done now?
I would say no.
I would be more than happy if Ken's already put some of it in the budget to do it in a 2-year step if we can, if there's no other solution.
7,000 that you have put in the budget is for the signage, though.
Yes. So
I think we can change our mind.
Yep.
I think we need to look at the big picture. As you pointed out, Councilor Kaler, we've got a lot of reductions that we have to make, and we're going to be working with the department heads through the course of this week so we can get something out to the council on Friday. And I'll just try and see if we, maybe the equation will have to be budget half this year and half the next in 2018 and do it all in 2018. That might be part of the solution. To spread it out, we'll have to wait and see what it looks like.
So I think accepting the recommendation without a timeline is in order.
And your motion to...
Yeah, we accept the recommendation, and then that would be our plan to be determined with timeline.
Second is okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Thank you. Everyone understands the motion then to accept the Donahue Property Committee report and to that we would develop the parking area and do the sign commemorating the Donahue family without a timeline.
Well, hopefully.
Well, we know what's going to be in the, there's going to be monies in the budget to do some of it. So, further discussion? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Motion is carried and report is approved, accepted.
I have nothing further to report.
Thank you, City Attorney. Chief, Thank you. Further, Chief Manassa?
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Go to reports of the mayor, council committees, boards, and commissions. Report at this time? Very good. Anyone in the audience that wishes to approach the council at this time? Seeing none, you see the correspondence that's listed there. And then to remind you that the special city council meeting is next Monday at 9:30 a.m. here at the city council chambers to consider the preliminary budget. And then the next regular city council meeting is Monday, October the 3rd at 4:30 p.m. There being nothing further to come before this meeting, we would stand adjourned. Thank you.